Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another podcast. We are here to talk about the Week 2 recap. Game-winning field goal, the Indianapolis Colts wind up defeating the Denver Broncos 28-29. It was an amazing game, and it was a roller coaster of emotions, I will say. You've probably seen my reaction by now if you haven't on Twitter. But we're going to talk about the game. I'm not here alone. I got my guys with me. I got Colts Film Room and Landon. Colts Film Room, how are we doing?
Man, I'm good. What a W. What a
Yes,
W.
sir. Landon, how we doing?
Couldn't be any better.
Absolutely. So I know these guys have definitely been digging in the film and been watching. And we're going to go over this game with you guys. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. It's so much to know to start. It's so much to talk about. I don't even know what to start, but I think I know where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with the man of the hour. The guy is 2-0 since taking the QB job for the Indianapolis Colts. Daniel Jones, another masterclass, in my opinion. Beautiful game from him. Of course, he had some mishaps, but most of it was good. It was way more good than bad. It was just a few plays, but one of my amazing plays is when he hit A.D. Mitchell, and it almost hit the dirt, but the ball placement was only for him to grab it, and he was covered by PS2. But before we get into that, I'm just going to start with Colts Film Room. What was your thoughts on Daniel Jones' game against the Broncos?
Man, he's playing good football. Landon has gotten in here and he hadn't stopped laughing, and I don't know why that is. I don't think there's anything funny about winning, but no, Daniel Jones played really good football. There's just no way around that. It's kind of crazy what we're seeing because he's like, I think Landon and I were both pretty high on this pretty much since the Ravens game. Preseason game, but he's even exceeding some of my expectations of how he could look. And I think, I thought he did a really nice job finding completions on the football field, throwing into man coverage with money pockets. Cause I think that was the story of the game, kind of the difference from the Miami game, tighter window throws. He was just being efficient. And I think that's, he's completing, I think, 77% of his passes right now. He's got an average depth of target of 10, so you can't really say that he's dumping it off either. Now, it isn't perfect. There's still some things that, like, particularly in the red zone, that are going to come back to haunt them. Like, this was, the Colts did get a little bit lucky there. It's great to get lucky sometimes. Like, the Colts haven't really had that. I think of plenty of times, even in Shane Steichen's tenure, everyone's saying he's the luckiest man in Indy, and I've watched games in which he wasn't very lucky. So, it's good to get lucky, but I think it's one of those things in the NFL that because the Colts win, we focus on all the good and everything's so great. And they put up almost 500 yards of offense, and that's awesome. There were still some things that need to get cleaned up, especially in the red zone. We can probably get to that, but man, he looked good.
Landon, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think that's why I'm laughing. Is like you said, like we were both like pretty high on there's something here. Like I think this is gonna work. I don't think anybody expected it to look like this. Like I mean,
there's 2 games without a punt. Like do you know how crazy I would sound if I said, yeah, the Colts aren't punting in the first 2 games. That's how good this offense is going to be. They're going to be the number 1 EPA per play offense. They're going to move the ball at will on Pat Surtain. And I know Pat Surtain was injured. Part of that
they
game.
were going after him even before the injury.
Yeah, so that's actually we can get into that because that's not like a new thing. Like they go after Stingley every time they play Stingley, and it's like if they find a weakness in a corner, they find a way they're not going to let a guy close half the field and give defensive confidence.
So for me, I think you put it like nothing's ever perfect, right? Like there's plenty of stuff they'll want to clean up. There's a few missed things, throughout the game that I thought, if maybe he just is able to get through one more read, maybe this is going for 6, or maybe if he just kind of drifts a little bit more, like on that drag route to Pittman there, like where, that kind of stuff. But when did Daniel Jones become such a killer under pressure? Like,
yeah, I think that's the story.
That's the biggest shock.
So
it's like going into the season, it was one of those things where it's like, this can work. He can find completions. He can stay on schedule. He can get you in the right plays. But if he is under a lot of duress in New York, which he was majority of the time, that is where the memes about Daniel Jones come in is usually when he's under pressure and he kind of folds or he'll make a dumb mistake or, and it was all over the film. I mean, like this stuff was like there. Just 6 years of evidence of like when he's pressured, this is who he is. And I don't know if it really has to do more with trust, like just the situation he's in, the guys he's with, like maybe I don't know, but like, and when he was under pressure, I mean, like the dude he scalped Denver. Like every time they would send 6 or, he would just a slight little shift here or there and the ball would be out and it would be on time and it would be accurate. And like, this wasn't some like weak, like little like noodle arm floating these passes in there. Like he was driving footballs into tight windows under pressure.
Yep. So
that's impressive.
I think part of it is the situation. Certainly, like when you go look at like Denver's Giants, the Giants' offensive line, like, yeah, it wasn't as strong as what Indy has right now. And I think they've admitted as such. And that's part of it. I think like I was thinking about this today. I was like, at what point do we just have to say like credit to Daniel Jones for working on something that didn't go so well? Like this was something that was wait, is it possible that after 2024 that he goes, hey, this season ended miserable for me. I'm going to be they released him. I'm going to be playing quarterback somewhere else. Here's my opportunity. I'm going to spend time working on the things that I haven't been good at. Is that possible?
And like if there's anything about Daniel Jones, even from his time in New York, it's like the dude's work ethic and like the work he puts in the off season and all that stuff. And I think like there's a lot of underlying things here that like we didn't really take into account that I think are playing like huge dividends so early on. I think a lot of it was like with like as soon as he got there, like him and Pittman organizing that throwing session, getting together with everybody out in California, getting familiarity and like going out with the guys, like having some beers, like hanging out. Like, I mean, I'm serious. That stuff creates like chemistry.
Daniel Jones successful because we're not even 10 minutes in. And it's Daniel Jones successful because he had some beers with the guys.
No, it's Daniel Jones creating trust and camaraderie with his teammates. Like that's stuff that like that matters. And in an NFL locker room, that stuff matters. But regardless of any of that other stuff, like just knowing that through 2 weeks and like hopefully this was like the big test, right? Like as everybody saw the Miami thing and this is what everybody said is like, oh, well, we'll see what he does against Denver and
puts up 500 yards of offense.
Yeah. I mean like it.
And now it's just they're the Saints, which is like
that's the goalposts will continue to move. That's why I thought it was funny is I keep seeing stuff about like and this is stuff that I was going to talk about out here because I think it's honestly hilarious is people talking about like, well, like, regardless of like whether this team plays good or not, like the ceiling, I've seen the word ceiling and capped so many times for different posts. And all I can think of is if this is the ceiling, if like your proverbial ceiling is like one of the most efficient, best offenses in the entire NFL to where they're just not even punting because they score so often. Like if that is your ceiling,
it's a good ceiling to have.
Yeah. Like why are we sitting here just being like, well, like their ceiling's capped with Daniel Jones still?
I think their ceiling is probably, and like again, the one thing I want to be careful of doing is stamping things because we're 2 weeks into.
Oh, it's way too early.
It's way too early. Like I'm trying to. Like I just did Locked On Colts.
We still have at least like 4 weeks before we're like, okay, like there's a trend.
Exactly. This can go so many different ways. I will say this. This team does look like it's going to contend for the playoffs through 2 weeks. I think a lot of the stuff here is pretty sustainable. And like in terms of how this offense now, obviously health plays a factor. I think the one thing that we'll get into and should that time come is like there is an experience factor where a lot of the guys here haven't played in the playoffs. And I think that you consistently see, and this is getting way, way, way too ahead of ourselves because the Colts haven't made the playoffs in like 5 years.
But to your point, since they introduced the 7th team, the 14-team playoff thing, teams that start 2-0, 77% chance. There's a 30-something% chance difference between being 1-1 and 2-0. The Colts got lucky. They're 2-0, 77% chance. Now, to play devil's advocate, we remember in 2021, They had a 98% chance to make the playoffs, and they completely fell on their face the last two games. Obviously, the big one in Jacksonville under Carson Wentz, like 98, 99% chance.
Yeah,
so, I mean, the percentage games.
That's a great example that a lot can happen in a 2-game stretch.
Yeah, but
they are
like,
now as bad as it can get. And I think just getting back to real quick, just getting back to like where this team is right now. There's a lot of stuff that I do think you look at and you're like, yeah, this can, as long as everyone stays healthy, I think that's obviously a caveat. Like things change when injuries happen, and the Colts have stayed pretty healthy on the offensive side of the ball, if not perfectly healthy. There's a lot of stuff that is really, really good. They're attacking a lot of different coverages in a lot of different ways. I think Tyler Warren has quite literally been, sometimes you just need a missing piece. And I think he was the missing
He's unlocked everything for this.
And it's where he's a credible blocker. I mean, he held his own versus Nick Bonito. And that was a matchup I kind of looked at as like, I wonder if they're going to have him rush against Cooper on the other side, or like block against Cooper on the other side, or what they were going to do there. I thought he looked really good as a blocker, which has helped the run game. It's also helped where just like you went and looked. I mean, it's also helped the other tight ends in the room. Like for all the talk of Tyler Warren, Mo Alley Cox has been Mo Alley Cox and looked probably better than he has, because he hasn't had to be a guy that he's really not. Like Mo Alley Cox at this point in his career, he can't run a lot of the route tree, but you can get him the ball in the flat.
Get him the ball in space and let him create after the catch and just let him get going. He can create.
Yeah, exactly. And he can make some plays in the red zone. I'll give him that in his career. He has shown that, but with a limited route tree in limited spots. But he's not like a guy like Tyler Warren that's opened up this entire offense. It's made it really hard. I think Pittman is playing really good football again now. Did have I think that was more of an issue. I'm thinking about the drop touchdown, or not, the mesh play that he probably should have been a touchdown on the shallow cross. That's probably
that's like pick. That's pick. I mean, like, did he?
Picky, but he's playing
like
really.
He kind of drifted on the route, and that kind of affected the throw and all that.
I love what they're doing. I think Downs got going. I think obviously Tyler Warren is going to get fed in every single game that he plays.
AD Mitchell has played a huge role.
Here's the thing about AD Mitchell is like his snap count went down in week 2, almost half the snaps, but he got double the targets. And like, he's clearly a guy that when he comes into the game, like, and I'm charting the film and I see him come in the game, I'm like, okay, I'm noticing like, why is he in the game? And he's usually it's the route he runs, the concept that they're calling. If they're going to set something up later on in the game for a double move, like AD Mitchell is used, they're using him to do one thing, and it's run ISO routes. It's run, double moves that are set up throughout the course of the game. And like, I do think it's a matter of time with him where like, I mean, obviously it's really tough for him. He's not going to get on the field over Pierce and Pittman. It's just not going to happen, but it does feel like he has taken a little bit of a step in terms of executing more of the limited roles that he didn't execute last year. And I think that that's totally worth, celebrating. And I'm really excited to see how he progresses through this offense, or like in the system.
We mentioned Alec Pierce, and he had another amazing play against Patrick Sensei. I think he had a very solid game that really goes under the radar. What was your thoughts on Alec Pierce pretty much just being available, Landon?
Well, it does seem like, I mean, like, obviously we always, we talk about Pittman and we talk about Josh Downs and we talk about Tyler Warren, obviously. But for my money is like, whenever there's like a money down where like you have to have it. And this is not even just this year. Like, this has just been going back for years. Like, Alec Pierce always seems to be one of those guys that's like, on a play that you have to have it, he goes and gets it. And that was no more true this week. Obviously you'd like to see a little bit more there on which I'm sure we'll talk about with Steichen as far as, the end of the game stuff. But yeah, man, like converting that play and then, getting them into the position to where they could possibly get into field goal range. That's a huge play. Obviously the play down the field, big 40-something yard bomb that he caught. If you want to point to like ceiling with Daniel Jones. Like maybe that play, like maybe if he has like a bigger arm and he's able to hit him in stride, that's probably going for 6. But like he completed the pass, and
I
it's
think that's pretty
hard.
I think it's slightly that pass was slightly underthrown. I think
Yeah.
I was talking about this today. Is like I think we've gotten so used to Anthony Richardson throwing the deep ball that like obviously Daniel Jones I don't think has the crazy. It's a solid arm. That's what I would describe it as solid. Can you live in an offense where you are throwing the ball with a 10 ADOT? What we've seen so far, you take a couple shots a game that
it's more sustainable.
Like you're
this
gonna
is
there's gonna be like 4 or 5 shots on the call sheet each week. And unlike with potentially Anthony Richardson, you're not the stress to complete all of them aren't there because you can find offense in different ways that they couldn't with Anthony Richardson.
It's more to like keep the defense honest. Like if anything, it's more to be like, hey, like you can't just play this one way, because if you do, like we're not shying away from going over.
They love double moves. I mean, they threw a sluggo to Pierce. They threw a sluggo to Pierce. They threw an out. They threw multiple out and ups. I think they're going to get. They have been aggressive. I think that like the quote unquote or just to get back to Alec Pierce real quick. I think that he's a guy that like we'll see how it all plays out with the Colts. Just obviously he's in a contract year and how that all looks, but like he's just at this point he's just grown into a crucial part of that offense.
Yeah, he's so vital.
He's so vital where it's like he blocks real well. He runs. He's still running clear routes. Like he for 3 years now, he's just been the ultimate clear out runner where he gets
a lot of cardio.
Exactly. Like him, like the fullback crosser sail, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. To Tyler Warren, like Pierce is running his butt off on a clear, like on that double post. We've just seen him just execute, and it's really like this like double-edged sword where like AD Mitchell, I think is it's like an embarrassment of riches in a way, because like AD Mitchell to me has improved since last year. Like I'm watching just if you go make a cut up of his targets, it's like he's executing at a higher level than he was. And obviously the sample size
he's way more on schedule with his route running. Like exactly. there was a lot of stuff last year where like he looked open, but it was really, he was kind of like ad-libbing out there a lot. Where this time, like there's just more like clear, concise, like on schedule route running. Like if it's a 10-yard out, he's cutting at the 10-yard. Like he's, not dancing. There's a plan and he's executing the plan.
Yep, and I think that's I'm excited for him because I think he's got the highest ceiling out of any of the receivers in the room. Like that's just I know he's gotten a lot of hate, and he's been the training camp superstar, and it hasn't transferred to hasn't shown up in the real games, and then it's shown up in the real games. Like he had a great catch, a great couple catches versus Miami. He's had obviously they had the shot to AD at the beginning of the game. It really wasn't there. I thought he was kind of forcing that one. Probably it might even have been picked if the ball was a little bit off. Like that wasn't necessarily great, but like I just feel like AD Mitchell is a guy that like I know it doesn't show right now, but to me like it just stands out when he's in the game, and he runs routes in a way and creates separation in a way that really only Josh Downs can. So, and I don't even think he's as good as AD Mitchell is. So like that'll be really interesting to see how that goes. I think in terms of the offense, just quick, I wanted to get to this, just how the offense has looked differently with Jones. I think now we're 2 weeks in, and I still am really excited to see how it plays out. I think I've noticed a lot of unique personnel groups that we didn't see last year. We saw 13.
A lot more 13.
We saw 13 personnel empty last week, and like they have a legitimate 13 personnel package, which I think is pretty cool. And I think that's because they can trust Tyler Warren to essentially be a receiver. Now, obviously, like he's not running you're running select routes, but it's a real package that they have. They have unique 12 person. I mean, they are motioning Ashton Doolin like crazy. Like when he comes into
They're
the
motioning
game,
downs like
crazy as well. That's the other part that I was going to get to. There is a lot of motion in this offense. It's almost Sean McVay like, but instead of the condensed formations, they're doing it in their own spread way. I think it's really cool. There's a lot more naked keepers and movement passes. Like you go chart this, and they want to move the launch points. They played two really good D lines, and they do not want those guys absolutely wrecking the game. So they're getting Jones out in space, closing half the field, and trying to get Warren the ball in the flats. But obviously Denver had a really good plan for that. And the other thing too that I think is interesting, because they've had so much early down success, is they've had no quarterback run up on the game plans. I thought that was pretty interesting. That now they might look at that and say like, hey, we have some PTSD from last year. Like there's no need to get anyone hurt. Like we can just run but we have one of the best running backs in football. Let's just hand it to him. Who cares? We'll figure out other ways in the RPO motion, everything like that to get numbers back. But I think
also that's another part too, where you have Warren as well, where you can line Warren up and you can run him.
I was saying this to Locked On Colts earlier, like I think Shane Steichen has a folder on his computer, like cool Tyler Warren plays I can't wait to run. And it's like, it's just filled. And he knows it's week 2. He knows he can't be like, he needs to save some of those plays for like, gotta have it, division game, late in the year. He's got so many ready for Houston, like all those type of things. But like, they're faking quarterback sneaks. They are using him as a running back on Zone Read. Now, some of these didn't obviously work, but I appreciate the effort every single time because you got to. You have a guy, you have to do it. And I think I don't even think the zone read was that bad of a play. I think Tyler Warren slipped. He probably could have hit the hole a little harder, but he slipped. So I just think he was the perfect missing piece to this offense. And I will victory to lap that take because I think I've been on it earlier than anyone else, to be honest. So.
Yeah, no, I had to like come to your defense the other day. Like,
yeah, someone thought I was a Tyler Warren hater. Like, I mean, I couldn't have been far from a Tyler Warren.
Yeah, I saw that comment and I'm like, wait, what? Like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
What are we doing?
But I think that it's really cool to see how this offense changed. I think the other part too is like there's a trust factor here with Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones, where like you're seeing some of the plays that just come to life that I just don't know that he trusted Anthony Richardson to do. And again, this is about Daniel Jones, and this is about how awesome he looks and how the offense looks now. I don't mean to make it like a beat a dead horse with Anthony Richardson while he's sitting on the sidelines and didn't have this same success. But there's a lot of differences in the offense than we've seen under Shane Steichen. And like, I just feel very vindicated for all my I feel like we should feel really good about our takes about just like this guy is a really good head coach. And like, again, I don't know. It's very early in the season. I don't know. I mean, they could lose to the Titans in embarrassing fashion and everyone feels differently about this team. That's how the NFL works. And that's how
everybody's waiting to jump off the boat.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Everyone's going to wait and I'm still going to be on it. But like, there's some things that I just feel like they won't completely, like, again, they're going to punt. They're going to have a game where they look horrendous on offense. That's just like how the NFL works. Like even MVP candidates have a game that they look terrible in. Like even the best offenses in the league have games where they look absolutely gross. I can think of like, some of the games Baltimore has had where they have Lamar Jackson in that offense and it hasn't looked great. So it's just how the NFL works. I think my mentality is I don't want to stamp anything too quickly, but just keep it rolling. Stay healthy.
Very promising. Very promising.
Definitely very promising. And we got to mention it. We did predict. First I want to give a shout out to Landon for talking about Andy Mitchell in the preview for having a big game, and he wound up doing it. So credit to you. But another person we mentioned to having a comeback game or even better game in week 2 was Jonathan Taylor. And he did nothing but impress, especially that big run at the end of the game. The receiving touchdown, he knows how to catch the ball. This guy was spectacular in week 2. So I know him receiving the ball and catches was one of those things that was like a myth. But he's out there catching the ball.
Not only just that, can we talk about his improvement in pass pro?
Yes.
Like,
we can start. Go ahead.
So here's the thing. Remember, like 2023, there were games, and I can think of a couple games off the top of my head where the narrative was like, why is Shane Steichen taking Jonathan Taylor off the field? Like, there's no reason for him to come off the field. He's the best player. They were down 2 scores. I'm thinking, 1 second. Am I going to sneeze?
Look at the light.
No, I'm not going to sneeze. The 2023 Saints game was one of them. The Colts, I think, were down a couple scores, and Jonathan Taylor just wasn't in the game in the second half. I'm thinking the 2024 Green Bay game was a big time. Like, why isn't Jonathan Taylor in the game? Obviously, the Houston play. Now, I stand by that play. I still do, and I get it. I'm going to rip Steichen later in this show because I've done nothing but defend the guy, so I think I can at least be critical. But I didn't mind the play call, but that was another one. Right now, JT is playing like a complete back, probably better as complete as he's played in his entire career. We knew the jump cut on the 63-yarder or whatever. I mean, that is just like he made them wrong when they were wrong. They were wrong. Their run ID.
They missed the wham. You got free rusher in the A gap. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's a mess. There's like 3 guys around.
I will say, if you go back and watch that play, watch Michael Pittman clear that block out there. Like, watch Pittman on that play.
Oh, it's insane. Like
that play happens because not only is JT,
it was kind of a block in the back, but you can do it.
It was very much, but Pittman cleared that out. Like, that play doesn't happen without Michael Pittman.
He's made some blocks like that. I think the New England game in 24 as well.
Oh yeah, he's.
But like, that's just special. Like, the Colts have a special back, and like that's part of their success. And I think keeping him healthy is really important. That's the thing with Jonathan Taylor that I think has been the Achilles heel. Is he hadn't really been able to stay healthy. Keep healthy, keep it rolling. I'm trying to think of anything else for the offense that we wanted to talk about. I think the
offensive line.
I think
Bernard Reitman.
Yeah, we can talk about that. Yeah,
I will say I do think, like, outside of Q, like Quentin Nelson has had a phenomenal game.
I mean,
which is usually the case.
Yeah,
but
surprise.
Yeah, you could say that, like, stamp that weekly pretty much. But I do think they struggled a little bit more than what people think they did.
Yep, I agree.
This was not a perfect game from the offensive line, especially I thought Gonzalez had a pretty rough outing. I thought Ryman actually had a pretty rough outing for the most part.
Benito wrecked the game, I would say. Or I mean, I wouldn't say he wrecked the game because he wasn't good enough to actually like be a factor, but like he came so close to wrecking the game.
They had consistent pressure. And I think, like, that goes back to my original point is, like, if this was the Daniel Jones of even last year or 2 years ago or at any other point in his career, like, that's the type of stuff that would sink a game, and it would sink him, and he would just fold. And like, him and Jonathan Taylor made that offensive line look like they performed a lot better than what they actually performed. That's the quarterback play. That's the running back play.
And they have good defense. They have a good defense.
Yeah, we're talking about like the best defense, like, in my opinion. Well, maybe not as good as Green Bay, because
I would say there's like 3 or 4 defenses where you look at it, you're like, this is different.
They're in that group.
Houston, Green Bay, and Denver.
Yeah. I mean, like, this.
Yeah, I don't want to get twisted. You're like,
that's a tough defense that they went up against, especially that defensive line.
They didn't look now. I think they probably looked a little bit better. They didn't. I don't want to make it sound like they didn't play well.
No, we're not saying they were awful.
They didn't have the Miami game, which is fine. They were playing on another level in that game. I guess the one thing I want to talk about in terms of other struggle points, because again, it's like, it is nitpicky to like find a team that didn't punt in 2 weeks and then say like, oh, it could have been better. And it's like, yeah, like Daniel Jones missed some throws that in this game, like that is part of it. There was some, he took a sack I didn't like.
He was hot and he looked the other way, and and all that. And there was another one where Ogletree was open in the middle of the field, and he kind of threw it into triple coverage to Warren, like he kind of forced that ball.
Oh, yeah, that was a weird one for me, and I don't even know what the call was. Like, I actually don't know what the call was. Like in terms of the route, usually I can tell. I cannot tell.
I mean, it was almost. I mean, it almost looked like a scissor kind of concept.
Yeah, it looked like that, but I don't know. I think someone's usually you have sale concepts where one guy goes first and the other guy goes second, and that's how they do it. I just don't. I think they both thought they were going first or something. I don't really know. That's just my hypothesis. I think the one thing that we just have to talk about, like, this is something that's been a 3-year problem now, is the red zone offense. It's been 21st, 22nd in the league. Tyler, I thought part of the reason I was like bringing Tyler Warren is like, this guy's going to fix that. And it hasn't so far. He has not scored. And it's
been a lot of unluckiness, though, to me. Like, I don't think it's been like an execution.
I think they're also
quarterback perspective.
I do. Go ahead.
I think for me, they've gotten really well. I'm not going to say unlucky because they've put themselves in bad situations, but like they seem, whenever they do get down to that like tight red zone area, you've had, some missed calls, like missed DPIs the last couple of weeks that probably should have been called, and it puts you at the 1 yard line and maybe they score. But the offensive, like the holding,
these are all happening in the
starts. Yeah, like that stuff, like especially once you get down there in the red zone, like those kind of calls, especially down in that area, like they really kill drives in the red zone, and they kind of force, kicks. And I mean, it's really unfortunate. So you'd like to see how that stuff gets cleaned up. Like maybe if they don't put themselves so behind schedule with some of that stuff. But I mean,
but there's also some execution errors. Like they had the out and up to downs that you just got to hit that. And that just is what it is.
I mean, it's easy too for us to say, like, I mean, he had a guy just in his grill,
Well,
like,
he's
going to want that back.
It's always, this is why no one in the NFL should actually care what I have to say. It's always easy for a guy now to be like, oh, you should have done that. Like, I'm not out there. But like, you also are, all in all, this has been 3 years of a Steichen problem of like, the red zone offense has been 21st. And then you look at this personnel and you're like, I don't understand how this red zone offense is 21st. Like they got a bunch of big dudes, man. You have a quarterback who can run it. You have an offensive line that's solid. You have one of the best backs in football. You have 2 wide receivers that are like 6'6", and should be able to box guys out. And you have a tight end now who's one of the better. I'm going to say one of the better.
Mo Alley Cox too.
So you have guys, and it just shouldn't be this bad. So, like, listen, this offense looks great. This is nitpicky. I'm admitting that, all those things. But like, we've seen this offense be 21st in back-to-back years in that area, and like, you want to think about ways that this won't be sustainable is like when that Josh Downs touchdown turned field goal comes back to haunt them at the end of the game when you're just missing opportunities like that. So it is what it is. Like, you're
going to win a lot of games scoring 30 points though.
You're going to win a lot of games. I'm saying like that.
But there's a lot of opportunities.
You're not going to do that every time. You're just not going to do that for 17.
No, but and that's what's crazy to me is like there's just been a lot of like that kind of stuff to where like you're missing just that kind of stuff in the red zone. And like I said, a lot of it is you've had some DPIs, you've had some holdings, some false starts, kind of put yourself behind the 8 ball in that. And if just 2 or 3 of those things go your way, I mean, you're putting up like 40 a game and you're blowing people out. Like this, like as good as Denver's defense is, and as lucky as we want to sit here and say the Colts got, because make no mistake about it, they got lucky. I would actually argue Denver got quite a bit lucky as well. Like this could have been a lot worse for Denver's defense than what it actually ended up being.
Yeah, I think that
I agree.
I think that's definitely, it's crazy to say that they put up 29 points and they probably could have put up another 30 plus. That's just kind of how it goes. But like, again, like it is nitpicky. Like, but I just want to sit here and be like, I want to acknowledge. We just have to. What'd you say?
No, I like that's what I was going to say.
Acknowledge it. Like,
we can acknowledge it, and we can point like as good as things have been. Like there's a chance that they can push this to another level. Like you can be better than what they've put on film the last couple of weeks, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think that, listen, it's a long season. And like, again, just as much as we can get excited in a 2-game stretch, just as much as a loss.
The next 2 games can go the complete opposite way. And we're like, oh shit.
That's just how the NFL works. So like, I'm trying not to stamp anything. I'm not trying to say, oh, Danny Dimes MVP. Look at, he's on MVP watch. It's like, there is 15 more games to play. Like it's a long stretch of games. And I'm just trying to acknowledge what I'm seeing right now. And what I'm seeing is a team that overperformed some pretty bad expectations that were set for them in the beginning of the year, where everyone thought they were going to be awful. I don't think anyone on this show thought they were going to be awful. Non-biasedly, I think I was just giving my objective. Like I was trying to find ways of why this wouldn't work. And it would have to be crazy and injuries would have to happen. But that's kind of how I feel. It's just a team that's outperforming some expectations that were probably unfair to begin with. So
there's a lot of past biases that kind of came into play. And I think this is a valuable lesson that we can learn from this, is that the past has no bearing, like each season in itself, and really like almost each game in itself is a completely new opportunity to prove yourself. And what the Colts were last year, what Daniel Jones was last year, what Shane Steichen was last year, none of it matters. None of it matters this year. This is it's a clean slate. That like that's why you have so much change in the NFL. Why you see so many teams this team missed. I think it's every year now, a team that has missed the playoffs makes the playoffs the following year. Like it's each team and each year is a completely different thing. So like if you put aside past biases on and you look at situations and you look at things objectively, that's why it wasn't really that far of a stretch for me to say like, hey, like if they have a quarterback that can stay on time, find completions, get the ball out and get it to these playmakers, they can have success. Like I don't like that, to me wasn't that crazy of a take. And a lot of people just completely, he's 22-44-1, 22-44-1. Like that has no bearing on anything that has to do with the 2025 Colts and Daniel Jones. Like no bearing on it.
But I'm excited to see how it looks versus the Titans. I'm certainly excited to see what it looks like in a road game. I think that's another thing where like at the end of the day, it's easier to play at home than it is on the road.
Well, so to your credit, to mention that, I'm glad you brought that up. Since I believe 2020, I think it's since 2020 or 2019, something about like since Luck retired. It's been a few years, but the Colts are actually 4 games under 500 playing at Lucas Oil Stadium. So it's actually really good to see them.
That's really sad for the season ticket holders.
Yes, and that's why you see so many opposing teams' jerseys in the stands. People were selling their tickets. I mean, they're 4 games under 500 at home. So it's really nice to see that. They've taken care of home field, and that's how it should be.
So let's get to the end of the game. I think we should talk about the end of the game. This is the part that I just don't agree with for whatever reason. Now we can draw our own hypothesis of why. I think there were some takes out there that Shane Steichen doesn't trust Daniel Jones, and whatever. I'm not there to refute that. I'm saying here's my thought. And he admitted that it was a bad kind of operation here. Is like, I think he saw them running the ball early in that drive and running it well. Got a little bit too greedy there towards the end. Thought, hey, they're not stopping us. Jonathan Taylor's going to make a play. We're just going to creep our way into reasonable free field goal range just by generating explosives on the ground. Sounds like if he could go back in time, he would totally redo that. Again, you can't settle for a 60-yarder. Even though I don't think on the headset, he's like, guys, let's just get the 60-yarder. He'll kick it. Like he clearly got greedy, in my opinion, with some of the runs earlier in that drive to get him in that situation. But Yeah, I like that can't happen. Obviously, Colts got very lucky with that penalty. And it's one of the, again, like kind of like I said earlier, it's one of those things in the NFL where like we're talking about the Colts crazy, like there's a lot of buzz around the Colts right now. Had that penalty not occurred and they lost that game, I don't think people would be talking about the Colts the same way. So that's just kind of how
But
W's.
that's the NFL, man. Like every
Yeah.
team has luck. Like, I mean, it's how many times have we seen the Colts be on the other side of that? I mean, it's
Totally.
It's nice to have the ball go your way sometimes.
The end of game operation was really, really bad. That can't happen.
And I'm glad Steichen acknowledged.
I'm kind of frustrated, I think, for him or with him or whatever the adverb is, or whatever that word it is. I don't even think it's an ad. That's not an adverb. Because that's not something that he's struggled with in his, like, he has executed some really good 2-minute drives with a quarterback that maybe he trusted less, I think, in Anthony Richardson in some of those situations. And like, I think clock management is not a thing that we sit here and criticize Steichen for often. So it was frustrating, I think, to see. I'm sure he's just as frustrated with himself. I'm sure all those things are the case. You love to see him, admit to that. But yeah, got very lucky there. You're not going to win a lot of games when you try and settle for 60 or quote unquote settle for 60-yard field goals.
Yeah.
Get way too aggressive with your run game. I think there's one thing to get aggressive with the pass game in situations that maybe you run it, but I think it's totally different the other way around. So
I almost think it's funny how like we've 180, like, and this is like the perfect example of like when it works, you're a genius. When it doesn't, you're, a scapegoat.
totally.
And, we've seen now just the same conversation we were just having earlier about fans being like, why is Jonathan Taylor not getting the ball in critical situations? They need to give the ball to JT. He's the best player on the team. And that's exactly what they did. And it didn't work. Well, it worked until it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, like they got into that.
And now you're criticizing him for handing Jonathan Taylor the football.
Yeah, and it's yeah. I don't think it's like, it's one of those things where it's like it's such an obvious thing that it looks like it will get cleaned up. It's like we can talk in circles about how bad it was till we're blue in the face, but like at the end of the day, like obviously can't happen. That was a moment that was pretty frustrating as someone who like is a very big Steichen supporter and knows that like he's been on probably the he's been at the top of his like coaching game, for other words, in terms of clock management. Like, that is not his weakness. Like that is not a problem for him. So like that was unfortunate to see that. So
I mean, the dude just turned 40 years old too. Like he's still learning.
You saying he's slowing down?
No, I'm saying he's learning.
Yeah, no, I think
he's still very young. This is a great learning moment, and he acknowledged that, which I think is like a huge step. He could have come out there and defended it and been like, "This is what we were going to do. This is why we did it." Like it takes a lot to get out there and own up, and to say like, "Hey, like that's my bad. I can't."
What fans want to hear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like that's the mark to me. Like that's the mark of a good coach, to acknowledge your faults and to realize like, hey, this is a learning moment, and I'm going to grow from this, and that can't happen. And yeah, but I understood the process behind it. Like at the time where, I thought the clock management part of it is what I hated. Like it wasn't the play calling part, because I understood like getting the ball to Jonathan Taylor. Like you're almost avoiding the negative play. You're avoiding the sack against a really good Denver defensive line that has gotten pressure consistently throughout the day. Like you're setting yourself up to have Jonathan Taylor do a Jonathan Taylor thing that he has done so many times and just break a 15, 20-yard run, get you down to the 30, and then you're going home. Like how many times have we seen that from JT? Like it's not like a process to where like it's just like, why would he do that? Jonathan Taylor has iced so many football games for this franchise. So I will never complain about getting the ball into Jonathan Taylor's hands in crucial moments. Yep. But I do think the clock management, I didn't like the way they kind of went about, they had the timeouts, they had 2 minutes. you could have got a little bit more aggressive there.
I think he was just greedy. I don't think we're ever going to find out why. I just think he saw how they were.
Here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. It doesn't matter. They won the football game. None of it matters.
You're right. It doesn't matter.
It's that meme, the Kanye West thing is like, what would happen if this happened? I guess we'll never know.
So, should we talk about the defense, Marcus?
Absolutely. That was going to be the segue before the last play. But the defense, of course, I think had one of the rough outings because, we expected the Denver Broncos to have a really good offensive day. But the key was in the preview video was to watch the run game. Now, I didn't expect J.K. Dobbins to be the guy to pretty much try to expose it. It was going to be Harvey for me, but Troy Franklin had a beautiful game. And, of course, we expected that to happen. But overall view, they wound up winning the game and made some key plays down the stretch, which we needed, which was amazing. That's all that matters. Landon, we're going to start with you. What was your thoughts on the overall defensive play?
Yeah, well, I mean, for as bad as the first half was, especially, in the passing game wise, like they let Bo Nix do some Bo Nix stuff. And that's generally not a good recipe for success. But I will say, like, that second half, man, they really held him in check. So, like, for as good as the first half was, I thought they kind of buckled down a little bit the second half. They really missed Charvarius Ward in this game. And I don't think, honestly, with the way that they were targeting Xavier Howard, who just looked like he didn't even belong on the football field this week, you could tell that guy hadn't played in a while, which is kind of funny because last week I thought he was excellent. So with the way they were targeting him, I don't even know if Ward really would have mattered as much in the grand scheme of things, because Cortland Sutton was pretty much shut down for the day. But yeah, I mean, it was just difficult. It still amazes me, and I feel like we get through this every year, regardless of who the coordinator is, regardless of anything, that a team with DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart consistently struggle against the run. I thought the linebacker play this week was really bad. Not even so. Like, it was bad. The linebacker play was bad. I think Denver targeted that area quite consistently. The DBs, for the most part, like Xavier Howard had a really rough game. Cam Bynum, unbelievable. Nick Cross, unbelievable game from Nick Cross. Nick Cross kept them in the game in a lot of really crucial spots. Grover Stewart obviously had the big play at the end there to tip that ball. They don't win that game without that play because Denver's already in field goal range and they're marching. And if they score, it's a 2-score lead, and the Colts aren't kicking that field goal to win. Grover Stewart getting that tip, which led to that Cam Bynum interception. Great. Yeah, I will say the biggest concern to me about this team, like just overall team at the moment, is the pass rush. The pass rush is almost non-existent right now. And I think Latu can help a little bit, but even in that Miami game, like he had the great game in coverage, obviously with the pick and stuff like that. But even the pass rush from Latu was kind of lacking. Like, you weren't really scared of him, like what we would hope to see. And this week, like, you could literally just double DeForest Buckner and there was nobody else that did anything. Kwity Paye disappeared. Ebukam had a pretty rough outing. He made some good plays, but I think overall performance, it was a rough week. They've got to figure out this pass rush situation if they're going to take that next step, because they've got the horses to do it in the secondary now. Like, especially if Ward comes back this week, they still got to figure out that cornerback 2 spot, whether it's going to be Howard, whether they're going to try Jonathan Edwards in there.
Shout out to Mekhi Blackman too, though.
Yeah, Mekhi Blackman's another. Like, they'll have to figure out where they're going to go in that spot. But I think overall the secondary's fine. The linebacker play, I think we all were kind of concerned about it coming into the year. I think it's kind of reared its head in moments. But the one thing that can cover up all that stuff is the pass rush. And until they get that figured out, and hopefully Latu comes back and he kind of hits the ground running and everything's good. But we know how hamstring injuries are. So, yeah, it's It's rough, and I am very concerned for the pass rush. So hopefully that gets cleaned up, this week against Tennessee, because Tennessee's offensive line, which we'll get into the preview with that, they've allowed Cam to get hit pretty often. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm more curious, to hear Colts film room's take on the defense as a whole.
Yeah, well, I think the same way I'm not going to stamp anything with Daniel Jones in this offense. It's been unbelievable. I definitely am not going to freak out over one game. I think that's probably important to say. I agree with a lot of those points. I think Xavier Howard's one of the, just to start top to bottom. I think Xavier Howard is one of those guys where you almost expected him to get picked on earlier. I think he said that in his press conference, where it's like, I'm not sure that he can't be good the entire season, but he also hasn't played football and didn't practice. Sean Payton's not a dummy. He's going to go after him.
Yeah, he's been here for 3 weeks.
Exactly. I'm surprised the Dolphins didn't do it, but Sean Payton knows, and he went after Xavier Howard. And I don't even think Lou was that surprised. He doesn't like the results, but he probably wasn't surprised about it. I think the safety play has been really, really good. I think that goes without saying. Cam Bynum, 2 interceptions so far. Even if they're not great throws, that's you capitalize on not great throws. And I think that's what he came in and paid to do, and he's going to do.
Well, even if and not to cut you off, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
But just to talk more about Cam Bynum for just a second. I even saw some advanced stats posted today where you're completion percentage over expectation and EPA when targeted and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I know, right? But it's not for me. It's for some of our listeners. He ranks first in almost every one of those metrics across the NFL as a safety. He ranks first in almost every single one of those. And even the ones he doesn't rank first, maybe he's second or third. So right now he's playing the best safety in football. Immediate return on an investment. Great investment.
Yeah, I think I always expected this run defense to kind of start slow. They're fitting the run completely different. That being said, I personally, again, I don't know what they teach, right? The one thing is you can look at something, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and it's not as clear sometimes when you're watching the film as an outsider on the offensive side of the ball. The way that they fit, run fits is some of the most complex things you can think about in football, even though stopping the run should be a simple concept. It's not, with all the different ways to do it. Sometimes you just have to guess. But there were some plays where people just look silly out there. And I think Lou has talked about that being frustrating. The pass rush is the biggest thing right now, because I think I want to say they have 14 total pressures or something as a unit. Not good enough. Not good enough. It's just not. It's one of those things too, because they have played 2 teams that have been tough, and I want to acknowledge that as well. Denver is really good in terms of their movements and their play action, and then Bo Nix is, I think, athletic and decisive, that it's hard to get him on the ground and it's hard to pressure him sometimes. They also have good offensive tackles.
It's a great offensive line.
Yeah. And then the Dolphins are one of those teams that you just can't blitz Tua. You can't blitz him. He gets the ball, even the game that he played in week 1, he's just hard to get to because he gets the ball out of his hands so quickly. And then the way that offense is designed, even if Tua is missing throws, missing reads, having him hold the ball longer, it's just harder to get the ball when the average depth of target isn't as high in that offense. And
I think Bo Nix average depth of target this week was 4.
Yeah, exactly. So there's some confounding variables that I think are factors here, but they're also excuses. And I think that there's no reason to make them. And I think that at the end of the day, you need more. I want to give credit to Grover Stewart as well, because his bull rush looks as good as I think I've ever seen it. He is pushing the pocket And he looks like a legitimate, like he's never going to be like an elite pass rusher. He's too big. He's too strong. He's like, that's not his game, but he can be a guy that pushes the pocket on the quarterback. Yeah. That's a big win for the Colts. DeForest Buckner's DeForest Buckner. He's a freak. Then it gets after that. It's like, man, they need someone to step up, because right now it's like, I would prefer, and I think everyone would, that they play that hamstring injury very careful with Latu. There's no need to rush that and jeopardize his potential season over him.
Week 3.
Hamstring injuries are tough. We've seen it be nagging for some players, and almost.
Well, we've seen it. Jalen Jones, prime example.
Yeah, perfect example with Jalen Jones. We've seen it, and then we've also seen guys where it's really not that big a deal. So like, it's. I want to say this hamstring injury was nagging though in camp at some, but someone can totally prove me wrong. I might have.
Well, no, I remember somebody asking Steichen about it, and they said it was just more of like a cautionary, like it's not a major thing. It was just more of them being cautionary this week. But it wasn't a big hamstring deal.
Yep. And I think that maybe even get him back on a pitch count in Tennessee, if you're going to do that. It's tough because they had an opportunity to make a decision on Samson Ebukam. And I'm unfortunately, this is just the reality of the NFL and how it all works, is like, he needs to play better than average, better than good. He's making $10 million right now. And like, I'm going to hold him to that standard of doing that. And I don't think it's unfortunate because he's coming off the torn Achilles. And like, you have to be cognizant of that. I don't even think he's playing bad. I just think that, like, if you're going to pay a guy that much, you can't pay him for average results. Like, you need something more there. And I think that that's also fair to say about Quiddy on a fifth year option right now is, you need him to produce well. And so I think it's a little bit nuanced because of the teams that they're playing. It's also one of those things that I don't want to freak out after one game, because really, I didn't even think the defensive line was awful versus Miami. I thought they were getting pressure there. It's kind of a small sample size, but I just want to point out that, like, this was the strength that this is the same D line that they were bragging about in 24 about, our offensive line's so deep, or defensive line's so deep. And the only guy they really lost was Dio, correct? On that defensive line. And obviously Samson getting hurt was a big deal, because in 23, he was a great excellent player. He was an excellent player in 23. And that's a big deal. But I just think that it's hard to play defense when you can't generate a pass rush with 4. And they're going to be a clear ceiling in terms of what they can do. Now, I think they'll be able to like, Lou Anarumo's a smart guy. Maybe I look absolutely silly for even I guess both of us, because I'm not saying that like this pass rush can never be good. Like, I don't think that's the case. But I just do think that, like, they can't stay bad forever if we want this defense to be what this defense is, because, and I think they know that. So like, that's the clear issue with the team right now. So I'm excited to see what it looks, but Cam Ward's another guy that can evade sacks pretty well. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see how it looks. That's not something to sleep on. The defense is tricky because they really did not look good in the first half. And we kind of thought that they were banged up. I think getting Ward back changes a lot of things. I think getting Latu back will change a lot of things, potentially.
Those are 2 massive losses.
Yeah, they're 2 big losses. But like,
anytime you lose your best edge rusher and you lose your number 1 shutdown cornerback, I mean, like, most teams are going to struggle in that spot.
Yeah. And I think that's but again, they need more from the guys that have been paid here. Like, that's just, it is what it is. Like, you want to, acknowledge the nuance. You want to acknowledge the situation, but you can't make excuses at the same time. Like, these guys are getting paid. This is a high paid unit outside of Buckner and Grover. It's still, they've paid guys on this defensive line to produce. And like, that's just the reality of the situation, whether they like it or not. It's like, this defense will only be as good as the guys that they've paid already to come be good. So we'll see how that all turns out. I'm really not trying to stamp it, but obviously I think that was a big turning point in that game, but also the run defense just has to be better. It's just team defense. And I think that hopefully will look better, but it does feel like clunky at the moment, which we probably should have expected. Like this defense was going to look clunky, especially
it's a new defense.
Yep. So, but they have some really good guys. They have some really good bright spots too. Nick Cross, Cam Bonham, DeForest Buckner is DeForest Buckner. Even Zaire is playing good football, I think. Though I think it'd be interesting because people are going to hold him to that 100 and whatever tackles, but the way that they fit the run, the ball isn't funneled to him as often. So it's going to be a little bit harder for him to maybe put up those same type of numbers, but he doesn't mean he's not playing good football. So I'm really excited to see how it looks versus Cam Ward.
Yeah, same. First division game of the year, especially for Daniel Jones, and it's on the road. It's going to be interesting, but we'll keep you guys posted on that at the end of the week on Friday when we give you guys the preview. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting as well. I would love to know your thoughts. Let us know your thoughts about the game, week 2 reaction. How did you feel about the game with a field goal and the game in general in the comment section? Follow us on all platforms. We appreciate you guys' support throughout the videos and podcasts. Shout out to the almost 1,000 people in here. We appreciate you guys as well. And until next time, go Colts, and you guys have a good rest of the week.